What's going on, guys? My name's Tori Kravitz, here with my co-host Alicia Atout. Welcome back to another episode of She's with the Band. How are you doing, Alicia? What's going on this week?
Tori. It is 7 a.m. We're about to film an amazing interview. I feel like we should be doing like an ASMR podcast instead because of how early and quiet both of our homes are right now. But I'm in a good mood. I'm excited. How are you?
Yeah, I feel like I just put all of my energy into the intro of that episode, and now I'm like, oh yeah, it's definitely 7 a.m. I feel it now. The sun is just coming up over here.
Ah,
But we're doing it for good reason. Our guest today is incredible, and she's in Australia. So Australia is infamous for their wonderful time traveling abilities to
uh-huh.
us. So yeah, just nice early wake up call today. But other than that, seeing your wonderful face is a good way to wake up in the morning, and it's good to be here. Can't
Uh,
complain.
I'm thrilled about it. And I think what's cool too is every time that we do this, we're kind of being able to just unwind a little bit, let ourselves just kind of be really loose and open. And I've been listening to our playlist a lot. And I didn't even know. I'm like, should I come on here and just fully admit that? But I've been spinning the Torlisha playlist non-stop. And you've got me back on the Beck train, like heavily,
Oh,
man. Because you put Soul of a Man in our playlist. And then I started realizing again, like, this guy's done Loser, E-Pro, Devil's Haircut, Girl, Lost Cause. Like, the list of amazing Beck songs goes on and on. So that's what I've been listening to full force, and I love talking about our taste every week. So what are you loving?
yeah. Well, aside from the Sonny and Cher that you've put on our playlist,
Ooh.
which you know what, I have also really been enjoying our playlist. But I actually discovered a all-girl band, which felt appropriate to mention
Yes.
on this podcast, called Tooth. I sent it to you earlier this week as well.
Hmm.
Just in general, their album, I believe it's a self-titled album, is it not? Oh, it's a Echolalia. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but
It is now.
you'll find it. Tooth. And they're kind of like just this doomy, sludgy, like heavy. And I was just like, this is so cool that it's like four girls rocking this band and they sound
That's
amazing.
awesome.
And you know me and doom and sludge and all the gloomy rock music.
Oh,
That's my
yes, I
shit.
do.
So what
That's
about you, Alicia?
awesome.
Has it been a Beck era, or is there anything else you wanted to spotlight
Lots
this
of
morning?
Beck, and now I'm finally just fully into Radiohead. There's this show called Mr.
Ooh.
Mercedes, and there's this section of the show where the main kind of like evil character is just rocking out spastically to Morning Mr. Magpie, and that song has such a cool Joy Division feel, sanely upbeat. The energy is so wild. So I've been listening to that song a lot, and then a lot of
Mm.
Talking Heads too. Tons of Talking
Wow.
Heads. I know you love some 80s tunes and some new wave, so
I do. I actually recently, within the last month, revisited the Bends Radiohead. I love that album, and it's
awesome.
so nostalgic for me. And it's my one of my favorite like car ride albums. So glad you mentioned Radiohead. Big fan.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And I know too, we were doing a heavy conversations recently, where we were talking about a couple of movies with really good twists, and that I recently
Ooh,
put you on to Memento, and then we started bonding over Old Boy too. So for our listeners, if
yes.
you guys really want some great movies that you can watch obviously after She's with the Band, Old Boy and Memento are so up there for me lately. Is there anything you watched
Yeah.
recently? Because I know we talked about Megan last week or
Yeah.
recently.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, have I watched any good movies? I mean, honestly, like I need to talk about Memento. I know I'm super late to the bandwagon, and everyone listening to this is probably like, Tori, come on, that was released so long ago. Like obviously Memento. But I actually watched it with a friend of mine, and after the movie ended, we were like Googling it and trying to figure out the storyline. And I love movies like that where you just end up in like a deep dive afterwards trying to figure it all out.
Yes.
I did also see Nightcrawler recently, which another movie I hadn't seen. Jake Gyllenhaal, I believe, is
Hmm.
our main guy in that one. Another great one, especially for someone who was a journalism student who had to do like traditional local newsy type things when I was in college. I really appreciated their commentary on the news. So those have been my couple. Anything else for you, Alicia? Any other movies? Old Boy, you just saw.
Ooh. Old Boy blew my mind because I was not expecting them to go where they went. It was very twisted, very messed up. And I've been watching a lot of horror movies that also are able to combine great fight scenes and choreographed fight scenes. So the fact that it's a Korean film and they had the MMA kind of like kung fu aspect in it too was awesome. So
Yeah.
yeah, please just watch Old Boy. It's so good.
It is such a fantastic movie. When you mentioned it last night, I was like, Yes. And I
Yeah.
know Downey and Decay were with us because it was heavy conversations, and they were just like, yes, which
So
I
good.
trusted Downey's opinion on movies very much.
I mean, he's kind of the king of that. He's like our Screen Crusades man. So
Yeah,
totally down with
fully.
Downey.
Yeah, man. And today's guest is so cool as well. I'm really excited because I've noticed a reoccurring theme of talking about like manifestation and the law of attraction
Yeah.
and things coming into your life in the way that they're supposed to. And we're big fans of those kind of conversations. And I think today's interview with Alex from Make Them Suffer, hearing more about her story and how she's ended up in this band is so nuts. So I think today's going to be a really cool interview too, isn't it?
Yeah, there's so much that we can relate to when it comes to her in terms of her start being thrown into a different world and having to adjust, the manifesting aspect, the fitness part you two connect on so incredibly well. So she's just really well fitted, not only for this podcast, but just when you want to welcome more cool girls into your group, she just seems like that girl. So I can't wait for
Yeah.
everybody to dive in to listen to the conversation. And I love it. I love when we connect with people on such a deep level. And she's with the band's been allowing us to do that. Like, did you ever think you'd be hanging out with someone so much thanks to work, dude?
No, but I'm so grateful because not even for a second has it felt like work. And I think that's the best
Aw,
part of it is I just feel like each week we're making new friends and new connections and realizing, even though we all come from, different walks of life and these people are in bands that we love, we all have so much common ground and we're all in this industry for the same reasons in a way
yeah.
because we love it. And that's been
Aw.
cool.
It's cool you mentioned the all walks of life thing too, because we're literally going to be talking with somebody in just a couple of moments, bringing them onto the show who's in a completely different part of the world. Like, we're in
Yeah.
North America, she's in Australia. And again, thanks to this, we're all being connected. So, without further ado, I say we just bring Alex on and let's rock and roll,
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah. I'm eager to chat with Alex. Let's get it going.
Woo! Alex, welcome to She's with the Band. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm good. I'm actually excited because this is the first conversation I've had about any kind of music since coming back from America and Canada. And it's been a couple of months. So I actually felt a bit nervous and excited to sort of immerse back in that world again.
Oh, we're so
Yeah.
excited that you're here. We were talking yesterday about how much this podcast has been so much fun because we're meeting all walks of life from all around the world. And it's funny, just before we were getting into this, Tori and I were discussing how it's 7 a.m. here. It's super late for you over there, and how time changes are just such a wild thing. Like, I feel like we're talking to you and you're in the future. It's so
Yeah, I know.
ridiculous.
I know, yeah. You've got a whole day ahead of you. I've already lived it. I've got to bed. It's
Wild.
like 11 o'clock at night here. I've had a full day of work, but no, it's a pleasure to stay up and just talk about awesome stuff. I'm really happy.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing that's so wild too is how this podcast is connecting us with people from all over, all walks of life. And I feel like we talk a lot about like fate and how things just kind of happen exactly the way they're supposed to. And are you not a living example of that? So I feel like maybe fate brought you to Make Them Suffer and brought you into this podcast today. Who's to say?
You said my favorite word, and I just felt a little like glow in my heart when you said that. Yes, absolutely. It's a pretty cool story. Actually, when I was waiting to be let in for the podcast, I saw She's with the Band, Make Them Suffer sort of on the screen, and it I still have to pinch myself because it's so new. Like, I've only really been with Make Them Suffer since officially, like, not even 6 months. The time has just flown. We've done so much together, but it was definitely fate that made it all happen. Like, it's just a wild series of events, and I definitely believe in things like the law of attraction and just allowing things to happen, and this story cemented that for me. Like, I probably was less of a believer until these things happened, but I used to be in a different band and we were doing quite well, and then COVID happened and Australia had a brutal lockdown. Especially where I'm from in Melbourne and Victoria, and we were so locked down. Everything was on hold. No shows, no music, couldn't see our friends. We were restricted to like a 5K, 5 kilometer. So I don't know how many miles that is for the Americans, but it's like Not very far, you know, it's like a 20-minute walk in a circle around where you live. We weren't allowed to go beyond that, which is crazy. But someone happened to live in my little bubble that I was only allowed to be in this area at this time for 2 years. You know, it's crazy. And it was Nick, the guitarist from Make Them Suffer. And we were both, you know, totally different walks of life, totally different journeys, but we ended up becoming friends during this time, and we were experiencing the same thing, which is, oh my God, my dreams are being crushed. We're not allowed to do anything about it. I think my band is ending. I don't know if we're going to survive this. And obviously, Make Them Suffer was a very different scale, but we were both feeling that same pain, and we became friends. We were only allowed to see people in the bubble. Like the universe couldn't have planned it any better. We literally were only allowed to see one single person outside during COVID for a walk. And Nick and I lived near each other. So we started going for runs and walks and talking. And it sort of sparked a friendship. And then when COVID ended and we were allowed to pick up music again and progress that journey again in Australia, we basically, both we were in the exact same time of life where we needed, my band ended, and I think it was like the next day basically that he was like, oh my god, I don't know why I haven't thought about it in the past 6 months that we've been seeing each other. We've been having these conversations like, oh, I don't know what's happening with my band, oh, good luck with yours. And we didn't realize we were the solution to each other's problems, like, you know, right in front of each other. It's just, it's genuinely insane. And a few other things happened, like we would bump into each other randomly on the street soon after having conversations, and one night it just clicked for him and he decided to ask me to join, and I didn't even give it a second thought. I was terrified because it was a huge jump. I had no time to process losing. A band is like a relationship, you know, 5 best friends, you spent years cultivating a dream together, it ends, and all of a sudden you jump into that with someone else. But I do think it was meant to be. Like a whole crazy series of things happen in the way, in how easy things fell into place. And I think that's how you know when you're on the right path, is when it's with ease and you glide through these amazing stages. And within like a couple of weeks of being in the band, we'd recorded a song. It worked so well. Everyone was happy. We all got along really well. But then we had, you know, some obstacles, like getting to America is quite tough. Getting visas approved is quite tough. And there was a lot of delays for Australian bands as well. A lot of our friends were trying to travel to America. They were getting rejected. Some of our good friends in Thornhill, I think they had to go to Bali, they had to go to Indonesia to try and get visas to come into America. And I remember our manager saying, guys, I don't know if we're going to get this tour. So we obviously did the Bad Omens tour at the end of last year. And we were having conversations saying, I don't know if we're going to get over there. We don't know if Alex's visa, she's never been before, you guys have. There's lots of delays and complications. We're cutting it really fine. And just all these insane things happen. Like I went into the embassy. I'm actually a New Zealand citizen. I have a New Zealand passport. And like I'd forgotten my wallet while I was in there and I couldn't pay the fee. And my manager said, he'd be like, don't mess this up, Alex. Like, make sure you take the money to pay the fee. You can't take your phone. You've got to be prepared. And I walked in, forgot my wallet, didn't have my phone. I was like, I'm screwed. And I get up to the counter and the guy goes, oh, you're a New Zealand citizen. You don't have to pay. And approved it on the spot. And like, they sent me my visa back in an insane amount of time. And then like, there wasn't one obstacle for this monumental thing happening, like joining a new band, international tours immediately within a couple of months, no issues. We're on a plane, we get there, like we didn't lose any gear. Like it's just, yeah, very long-winded way of saying like I've genuinely never experienced anything like that. And at a time where I thought I was going to lose everything, and the universe just came in and went like, we got you. Don't ever stress again.
The universe had your back. And I feel like this podcast, we've been meeting a lot of manifestors and a lot of people who believe in the law of attraction. And it's so weird how both Tori and I as hosts, like that is something we full-heartedly believe in wholeheartedly. So to hear that you had that same experience and it just all lined up magically for you to become a part of this group, that is so wild to me. Like, not one obstacle. You had to be in this band for some reason.
There are even more things that happen, which I won't go into detail about, but they're insane.
Wow.
Like truly insane. And Nick is a really big believer in, or I think he's coming into it, like he approaches it more from a place of, what? That's crazy. Let's see what else we can manifest. Like, he's such a motivated go-getter. So I come from a place of believing it, and he comes from a place of being like, yeah, all right, yeah, let's see what happens. And when it does happen, he'll be like, yeah, that's awesome. What else is gonna happen? And like, it's a really good vibe. It's really good. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's so awesome that you mentioned the law of attraction, like Alicia said, how we're both so into that kind of stuff as well. And the one thing I do know about the law of attraction is it isn't necessarily just magic out of nowhere. It's stuff where you're thinking about it constantly, you're doing things to prepare yourself for the opportunities. And another, I'm a nerd quote. I think we've learned that on this, or yeah, quote nerd on this podcast. Yeah. And so one quote that seems to keep coming up within our interviews is luck is when preparation meets opportunity, which I think is another one that we could describe for you, because you were in other bands prior to Make Them Suffer. I know you're also classically trained in music. So I'd love to know, like, just throughout your whole music journey, some of the moments for you where you're like, things are starting to line up for me. The universe is taking care of me and leading me here, because it wasn't just snap your fingers, you meet Nick and it's there. You were ready for the opportunity as well.
Yeah. It's really interesting to think about, because I wouldn't say that my musical journey was smooth, and it definitely wasn't seamless and full of peace and happiness. Like, I had a very interesting, weird, disjointed musical journey, and I didn't know if it was something I wanted to do forever, because it was always associated with I think a lot of musicians will feel this way too. It can be really associated with like pain. There's so much criticism, there's so much pressure. So I did grow up classically trained, and my initial intention was to become like an opera singer until I was like 18 or something. I never heard metal. I had never heard screaming. I was so late to the bandwagon. Like, I never had an emo phase in school. Like, I missed out on all of that.
Wow.
And it wasn't until I was like 18, mainly listening to classical and like indie, and I met a group of guys that I work with, and they were like, oh, listen to this. They gave me a mixtape, literally a mixtape, and it had Lamb of God, Heaven Shall Burn, Parkway Drive, As I Lay Dying. It had all these incredible bands, just one song each, one song.
That's
and I
awesome.
listened to it, and I was like, oh my God, all right, what is this? And I remember the feeling was like, it was like the first time I'd really felt this intense, sickening fire that was like pulling me. I'm like, oh my God, what is this? And I just immediately turned around and just decided I wanted to join a band. I also started listening to music at the same time, so I wanted to join a band. So I gave up. And the thing with classical music was, when you're learning classical music and you're exploring how you interact in that world, you do a Stedfords, you get graded, you literally stand up on stage and you have to be perfect, and then you get told whether you were good or not by a massive panel of people, and it's just such a shit feeling. It just makes you feel so bad. And so then finding metal and thinking about being in a band and screaming, no one's judging you, and they don't have to turn up, they don't have to like it, and if they do, it's just a totally different environment. So I went from like years of judgment, criticism, pain, thinking, I don't know if I like this, I feel anxious and sick every time I perform, to being on a crusty stage screaming with a group of dudes and playing to like 5 people, being like, this is awesome. I feel so good. I feel so powerful. And then I did that for quite some time and really wanted to make it, and had semi kind of success in my previous band. We got signed to a label. We were doing quite well, but then again, so much stop start. It's hard being in a band. You have to deal with relationships. So I've experienced in that time extreme anxiety performing. Mental health, just anxiety was always a big issue for me. And I didn't know if I wanted to do it. And during the period of COVID, probably a couple of years ago, something that I would say to myself and all of my friends is, I just don't know. I wish I could find the answer. I could just go and work. I could go and do anything else. How do I know I want to do it? And when my band ended, I thought, well, that's the answer. And then I got asked to join Makeup Software. Wow. That's the answer. That is the answer. And since then, it's just been a totally different feeling, just peaceful, exciting, the opposite of anything I've ever felt before.
Well, I know you also kind of switched roles because in your previous band you were a front woman. Do you think now playing the guitar and being more off to the side and getting to just kind of be in your own zone has helped with the anxiety and like the performance aspect of it?
Hell yeah, it's so good. Like being behind this group of musicians, and I can't speak highly enough of everyone in Make Them Suffer. They're so good. But Sean in particular as the front man is so good. And yeah, I think there's no pressure on me. I obviously want to do an amazing job and support them as best that I can. But yeah, I'm not the leader. I'm not at the front. I get to be more a part of the music as well. And when you're playing songs that someone else has written, it sounds better. Like I don't judge the music because I was already a fan anyway. So I'm like, this is sick. I love this. I love every minute of it. And I expected to feel more anxiety playing these shows. I didn't feel it. I mean, I felt pressure. I felt all a broad range of emotions, but the anxiety, like I didn't want to be there, I haven't felt that feeling.
I'm just running through a few different things because you mentioned a bunch there that I want to touch on. And I'm like, okay. No, I love it though, because you mentioned a few things. Like one that caught my attention is you just brought up a simple word or artist there being Muse. And I know Muse is your ride or die band. You know, the moment that you started listening to them, you were like, what is this? Let me go more into their world, because I've always been captivated by them because they have such an anthemic sound. But then Matt can do so many bizarrely wonderful things with his vocals, and also a group that often talk about third eyes and manifesting. So just putting that out there. But since we're talking about those beginnings and your start with Make Them Suffer, I'd love to know just kind of your start with those first loves within music and that heavier side in this world, because you mentioned that that mixtape with Your Lamb of Gods and all of those classics. So for you, like, who drew you in? And I'd love to hear a little bit more too about your Muse obsession, because we're with you.
Oh yeah. Well, Muse came first. Muse was the heaviest band I'd ever heard until I heard Screaming. And it was right, I think they'd already released Absolution and Origins of Symmetry. So I was sort of rotating those albums, and it sounded really heavy to me, like the bass, just everything. For me, that was like the most epic music I'd ever heard. But obviously, Matt Bellamy's influence of the classical, like the piano and the strings and the orchestration, everything they put into the albums, like I can't imagine going through life being someone who just listens just to mainstream radio and never hears how music can expand into just that incredible arrangement, just the way that they do. And I don't know what it was about them, but yeah, I just heard Matt Bellamy and I just thought, like, I could do that. I think I could do that. I don't know, maybe I think I can. And that was the first time. It was like that first time you have that thought in your mind of, oh, you step outside of your conditioning and you step into that next frame of thinking where you're not limited anymore, and you go, oh, I can do that. And then you feel excited, and then you've pushed your norm out again, your boundaries, they move out. And so yeah, I just love Muse. But then when I heard this tape, it was sort of like in that golden era of metalcore as well. So this was like 2006, the prime.
It is prime.
I'm pretty old, so like As I Lay Dying.
You're pretty old. Guess just stop.
I'm not old, but I definitely I came around at this golden era of metalcore, and it's still my favorite genre. And it was Alexis on Fire had just released Crisis. So I remember hearing Rough Hands, and I was like, oh my God, soft heavy. Like, how much is there to this heavy genre? Like, this just blowing my mind. And then, yeah, Lamb of God. But my absolute ultimate diehard true loves, Alexis on Fire, Parkway Drive. Lamb of God is still up there. and Deftones.
Yes.
I don't even know what to say. Like, just perfection. Yeah.
Wow. I feel like this has inspired me where I wish I could go back in time and rediscover these bands again. Like just hearing you so excited about the first time you discovered them. I'm like, I want to go do that again.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah. And something else that I thought was quite interesting about your story, like when you first joined the band, was I know you had said in some other interviews that you were expecting like criticism or a bit of backlash when you first joined. And I know that that ended up not being the case at all. Like if I look at the comments on that Doom Switch video, it's all about how amazing you are.
They love you.
They love you, as do we.
It was definitely a shock. For so many reasons. Like, I have so much respect for every member who's been, every predecessor who make them suffer. And they had such an amazing established fan base and loyalty to all the previous members. So any change is always you expect a mixed review. So I was definitely prepared for that. But yeah, I was pretty shocked actually. But in a way, it's sort of like when you start at the top, you have further to fall, like who knows, it might have the reverse effect eventually. Like we might release other things and people might not like it as much, but I'm not really someone who reads comments, and I don't look into criticism and feedback. I don't read them. All I really care about is the band happy? Are they happy? Are we all happy together? If they don't care, then I don't care. But yeah, I'm very, very grateful that it was overwhelmingly positive. I definitely read a lot at the start, and it made me feel pretty good for sure.
Good. Yeah, because I mean, like, yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Alicia.
No, please, Tori, be my guest.
I insist.
Wow, you're just so lovely. No, we were discussing anxieties and almost confidence as well when we first kicked this conversation off. So I imagine too that must have been a really big undertaking of, hey, this is me fully coming from that world of metalcore going in to make them suffer. Like, please accept me in a sense. So was that something that kind of kept you up at night before the announcement, or was it more so just the excitement of, hey, it's finally happening and this dream is coming to fruition, or was it everything?
Yeah, I reckon so. Probably a couple of years ago, my musical experience was riddled with anxiety, but I went through a bit of a mentality change. I'm not really sure how I got there. And I just stopped caring. I sort of switched my mentality into a very like ruthless mentality of like, life's short. I know what I want. I'm going for it now. And coming into Make Them Suffer, from the start to the point where we released Doom Switch, all I was doing was learning to play keys again. I did play when I was young. I haven't played them in years. Learning to play keys, learning the songs, learning the vocals, practicing vocals, recording. I had my head down every day. The way I practiced every single day. I couldn't tell anyone about it as well. I couldn't reach out online and say, hey, any good teachers, or I couldn't communicate. It was just me. It was just me in my house every day. So by the time we got to the release, I was so focused on like achieving it. It was, for me, I wanted to enjoy the journey. It's like, who doesn't want to be offered an incredible opportunity in life and then you get to work for it and reap the reward? So for me, it was like, I just didn't care because I wanted it so bad. And yeah, I still don't care. I still don't care if people don't like it because I'm here doing what I want, and
yes,
nothing's going to get in the way of that. So yeah.
Absolutely. And when I put myself in your shoes, like thinking about, okay, I haven't played the piano since God knows when, and I'm learning how to play guitar, which I imagine has its differences, and learning all these songs that you didn't know how to play, and then having to tour them right away. It's so much that must have been out of your comfort zone. And although that seems scary, I know that being in your comfort zone is the ultimate time of growth. Like I know you're into fitness, so I know you know that because I'm kind of in the same headspace too.
Yes.
So when you think about those moments of being out of your comfort zone and learning something new, did you have any like aha moments or new lessons or new sides of yourself that you hadn't experienced before in going through all of that?
Yeah, for sure. Something I struggled with a lot when I was young was I just hated practicing. I hated scales. I just hated, and just that moment of, you have to do something, but you avoid doing it. And that's something that I've always struggled with in life for whatever reason. Like, I know I need to practice, I know I need to do this, but I can't make myself start. And that creates anxiety. So I actually went to see a therapist, and I've had plenty of therapy in my life. I love counseling. I'm a total advocate for it. Like, I've had incredible relationships with counselors. So I've found someone and I said, hey, I've got this habit. How can I overcome this? I've got this epic goal, this monumental goal, and I just want to achieve it. And I just started with, it took me a little while to get into it because I think I was overwhelmed. But once I went to see a counselor and talked about sort of like what I was afraid of, I mapped it all out. I literally drew up a calendar of like little tiny stages of what I wanted to achieve week by week. Like within a week, I just want to play this one song a little bit. And then I started to enjoy it. I started to actually enjoy it. I just had to break that barrier at first. It took a little bit of help. But then I practiced like every single day. But I'm very lucky that the band, there wasn't this immense pressure from them. And there was a lot of support, especially Nick. Like, he was like, we do not expect the world from you, do the best you can do. And that was really good as well. But I think the thing that surprised myself is, just cultivating. And I think fitness taught me that. Running and lifting and just everything taught me, like, if you can be disciplined and push through with a grit and a determination in any part of your life, you can transfer that anywhere. And because I've done it for so long with fitness, I was like, I can do this with music. I might not have been able to do that when I was young, but I can do it now. If I can do it in one place, I can do it everywhere.
That's amazing. Because yes, so much of fitness is mindset and being able to tap into that part of your brain. So it's so cool to hear. I love that.
That is something too, like, I feel like I'm recently doing it in reverse almost, because for me with this interviewing, like, it's such a practice in terms of we were talking about this before we actually started filming, in terms of all the preparation that goes into it and all the different kind of things you have to be keen on while you are talking throughout a conversation. So I felt like I took that discipline, and over the last 3 months, I finally have started fitness and working out. And once you get over the mindset of this is going to suck and burn for those first few weeks, it's going to be rough. Once you break through that barrier, I started to love it. And now I'm working out some days twice in a day, which is something me a year ago would have never done, So you really do have to just get through that mental blockage. And once you push through, awesome things can happen.
That's awesome. I love that you've done it the other way around.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I find it hard to do it. But yeah, it's like if you can do it in one place, you can put that into anything. You've already proved yourself that you can do it. Yeah.
And I think it's also such a good point as well to make digestible goals. Like, instead of you looking at, I need to learn this entire catalog, you're like, one song at a time, one thing at a time. It makes it so much easier, doesn't it? Yeah.
You were saying before you love a quote.
Let's go.
She loves a quote.
My favorite idol of the past couple of years is David Goggins. I don't know if you've ever heard of David Goggins.
Love his book. Oh yeah.
I haven't read it. I need to, but I've listened to his podcast with Joe Rogan, and I follow him on Instagram, and his slogan is get hard. No, stay hard, stay hard, stay hard. He's just like this fit dude. If you haven't heard of him, go and obsess over him. And I love his mentality. Like, I really resonate with things that are brutal mentality, like be tough with yourself. I think there's a place for being gentle with yourself. There's a place for being tough with yourself. You need both. And I love his mentality. So yeah, I love that. Stay hard.
Yeah.
Just do it. Just fucking do it, honestly. And I'll tell myself that every day. Just do it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to turn this into a book club by any means.
Oh, please.
But reading David Goggins' book made me start doing crazy things, because you start realizing how much you're capable of, and this man did the craziest things that you would just never dream of. And it was hard for him too. Like, it's not like these things that you do that put you out of your comfort zone are easy, but when you realize if he could do it, I could do this little thing. Like I started obstacle course racing and stuff after I read that book. It's like, it's crazy stuff.
You're wilding out, Tori. I love that.
I was wilding out, guys. But I get so excited knowing that about you, Alex.
I love that. I wish I had someone to do that with here, because I don't think anyone would do. All right, next time I'm in America, can we do?
You know the girl to hit up.
I will do an obstacle course with you. I would fly to Australia for the opportunity, or if you're in Florida, just let me know. Either way.
You're a cheerleader, girls.
That is awesome. I love that. That is so cool. I love it.
Yeah, man.
Something I think, Tori, will make you really happy is, before we started, Alex and I were just talking about, like I mentioned earlier, interviewing and that style, and she brought up how she was watching some of the She's with the Band episodes just to get into this, and I know how happy that would make you. So it's really cool just to see worlds collide, and how you can be literally in different, opposite rather, parts of the world and have so many commonalities with people. It's just a cool little thing. I love that about this show.
I liked that you guys did a podcast introducing yourself and your own experience, because I was severely impressed listening to that. The caliber of people that you both interviewed, but what I liked was talking about the journey, but how you overcame, where you started to where you got to. But I was saying to Alicia, I felt nervous listening. I could empathize and be in that moment of thinking, I'm about to do an interview with this person, or like, what that would feel like. And I was saying, I think it takes a different type of skill and connection to be able to be face-to-face, one-on-one, look people in the eye and connect with them. It's very different to being on stage. And I think it's a phenomenal skill. And I think it's definitely more scary than performing. Very disconnected way back on stage. You don't, it's different kind of connection. So
yeah. Well, I do think it's something, I believe Nita Strauss had said it in her interview, that anything you do, it just takes practice. Like, I could never play the guitar and make them suffer. Like, no matter how much I practice, I won't be on stage with them. I'm sorry.
I couldn't do what you do. And isn't that great?
It's just different skills.
It's awesome, because I know that this is, based around women as well. And I have never sat down and done a podcast with women.
Wow. Well, that says something in a way, doesn't it? And that's why we're here.
Yeah. That kind of gives us that relief, in a sense, where it's like, this is something that's needed, and this isn't us tooting our own horn or anything, but just hearing that from you, someone we respect so much, genuinely doesn't just go right over our heads. That's going to sink in a lot. So just thank you for saying that. That's really nice.
You're not tooting your own horn, but you're tooting
my own horn. I cannot.
I love it.
But something else I wanted to ask you, that I think about that first Bad Omens tour for you, and I'm just like, that must have been so amazing, especially having never been in the States and whatnot. So being thrown into, like you said, just right to the top, what have been some of your most, like, is this really happening moments since joining the band?
Oh God, I mean, it's just been one big wild ride, but that, like, I don't even know how to explain what that tour was like, because it was 7 weeks, which is exceptionally long for a tour, and everyone said it. But the general feedback in the camp between all the bands as well was it was like the best tour they've ever done. For some reason, all of us, we just got along so well, and it was so good. Like, I can't explain it. I mean, Bad Omens obviously a phenomenal band, lovely people. We also had Dayseeker, lovely people, and my boys, I can't believe I had a mind blank. My absolute 1,000 Below. Don't kill me, boys. I love you guys. But yes, so then, like, to have all of us together, like, you're seeing the same people every single day for 7 weeks, and like no personal space, just developing these intense relationships. And it was just like, I'm an only child. I've never had brothers, and so all of a sudden I'm like just surrounded by a family every day. So for me, it was like just to be a part, like this wholesome little feeling of like being a part of like a big family is something that I love. And I think that's why I can survive touring. I think that's why I survived it as well, because I'm like, I'm never going to get this experience again, to be so a part of something in such an intimate way with people. And it was just mind blowing. But then obviously playing to thousands of people, incredible venues, and like just waking up in a different city every day in America and going, I can't believe I'm here. I literally cannot believe I am in California. I can't believe I'm in Seattle. I can't believe, and then we went to Canada. I can't believe I'm in Canada. And each day was just this insane journey. I didn't really have time to process it. And I don't know if I actually have really processed it. Like I was so immersed in the moment as well that I didn't really post on Instagram. I posted on my story and I took a lot of footage, which I'm glad I did. But I didn't post on my feed because I pick up my phone and then I'd be like, no, I just want to talk to you guys. I want to look out the window. I just want to be really present. And I, yeah, I actually really love America. I would love to come back and live there. So speaking of manifesting, that is my secret
Come on over.
And when you move to Florida, we're going to do all the obstacle course races. So that's another incentive.
You already have plans.
Imagine, like, remember this moment, because when we're doing a race together, we'll remember it. So,
and that's the way you think to manifest, folks.
Yes.
When,
yeah.
And something that makes me so happy. There was something there too that just kind of sparked an idea, and it's just the juxtaposition of metal. So many people on the outside are just like, ooh, it's so fierce and vicious and dark, oh no. And then you're just talking about this brotherhood and this love and the beautiful family that it's given you. And I think that's so badass that we can kind of just shatter that reputation of, oh, everyone's just like this grumpy dude with the beard playing. It's like, hell no, get out of that stereotype of that BS, because there's so much more behind the scenes than just what you're hearing. So that's so cute.
Oh, it was absolutely lovely. Like we still have a group chat with the entire tour, like a texting group chat. And like an hour before this, I got a message and everyone's like, Not Fest. Oh no, wait. So Bad Omens are coming to Not Fest, but then we're all playing, I think it's announced now, Blue Ridge. So we're all doing Blue Ridge. So like the whole tour party is going to be together again at Blue Ridge, but then all the boys, Bad Omens boys, are all coming to Australia for Not Fest in a couple of months actually. So we get to see them again, which is awesome.
That is so cool. I mean, really, like the metal scene is so tight knit. And I don't know if that's something people realize. Like everyone's friends with everyone and knows everyone, because like touring like that, you get to know people so quickly and so closely. So that's amazing.
It's not in Australia. I don't know if you guys have ever been to Australia. Have you?
No. It's a little far, you know.
Just a tiny bit though. It's just like a few hours on a plane.
It's a long couple of flights.
Oh, I know.
Oh man, I hope you guys get over at some stage, but it's a different world here. Music is more like, if you're lucky enough to still be doing it, it's just such a small scale. So when I came over there and I saw how epic the music industry is, that was mind-blowing as well, because I can see how much opportunity there is, and like you guys can immerse yourself, do it for a living, do it every day. It's not like that in Australia. So coming over was mind-blowing to me. Yeah.
I guess that even further proves how insane it is that you and Nick were in a little block radius that you could go on runs together. That just further pushes what we were trying to say, that it is nuts how this all happened for you.
We've never really met before either. Like we'd walked past each other at like a party and been like, oh hey, that's it.
Wow.
Like to go for a run, it's a random thing to do as well.
Yeah. Well, you just never know, do you? Well, I suppose now is a good time to talk about some jaw-dropping moments, which Alex, since you've seen our show before, you know what we're about to get into. It's our 4 reoccurring questions of some of the most jaw-dropping things about you. So the first one that we have here is what is the most jaw-dropping experience you've ever had at a show?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Okay, like a show I've played, or
could be a show you've just been to. Doesn't have to be one you've played. Just a live show in general. It's up to you where you go with it.
I will say Sleep Token played in Australia with North Lane. I went, funnily enough, I'm not big on going to shows. I don't know why. I listen to music 24/7. I'm never without it, but I don't go to shows as much. But I made an effort to go to see Sleep Token and North Lane back to back in Melbourne. And I pretty much cried because it was the most spectacular performance I've ever seen in my entire life from both bands. I think that resonated just, it was the first shows I've been to with my best friend Courtney that we went to after COVID as well. So after 2 years of having that all taken away, we're all of a sudden standing in this room, just the most phenomenal vibe going, oh my God, it's back. How could we have forgotten what this feels like? To be in this room sharing this energy with people. And in that moment, we were like, yeah, I just never, like, this is it. How could, imagine if that was taken away?
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
I think we all came out of that lockdown with a new appreciation for live music. I remember like the first show I went back to, I was just like floored because you're not taking it for granted, where it became so normal for so many people. Yeah. It's a good one.
All right, this one I'm curious about, because people either say stuff where it's very revealing or you're like, whoa, this really is jaw-dropping. So for you, what would you say is the most jaw-dropping misstep early in your career? And what was the lesson that you took away from that? This is where I learn. It's always question number 2 here.
I would say, yeah, probably being unaware, and I think these things take time. There's nothing that can be done, but being unaware of aspects of my personality that would hold me back from working with people and allowing success. And I think only time can evolve. You can only really slowly become aware of yourself through time and experience and failure and conflict with people. And so I think early in my career, I probably was very emotionally driven, stressed out, not trusting, and not trusting that things would be okay, and very quick to react, quick to be upset. And after doing a lot of work with mindfulness and just on that journey, like I've been grinding that journey for so long, I look back now and I go, why was I so serious about that? Why was I so stressed about that? It would have been such a simple thing to make that work out or whatever. But I don't think there's anything you can really do about it. But yeah, I look back and I think I got in my own way, but I couldn't have done it any different. It needed to happen to get to where I am now.
Yeah. No, I totally resonate with what you're saying though, because I mean, I haven't toured that extensively, but I've done enough to know that, I'm a bit of a control freak and I want things done a certain way, and I get anxious if it's not sometimes. I've let that go now, similar to you, but it's something that you learn real quick your first tour, that you have to go with the flow. You have to like let those missteps on the road or whatever it is just happen and then just roll with the punches. But yeah, that's a tough one to learn.
Chill out. You just got to, nothing is serious.
Send out.
Yeah,
yeah. I've got a quote for this one. Someone said this to me. He said, it's not that deep.
Yes.
We're playing music. It's not that deep, guys.
That's so good.
That is a great lesson to learn. And the next one that we have here for you is the most jaw-dropping female artist that you would love to work with.
Ooh,
it's a fun one.
Yeah, this one's an easy one, and it's probably not what people would expect, but I'm not sure if you know this band. They're an Australian band that are no longer, which makes me very sad, but they're called Tonight Alive.
Yes.
Exceptionally brilliant punk band. I am a huge fan of Jenna. She knows, I've met her a few times, but she has been, so I actually sing, and I've done this my entire career. I sing The Edge as my warm-up song for every single, I don't know why, I hum it, I sing it. It's a lovely, her range is so beautiful. So I'll do all my warm-ups to The Edge. I would love to do a song with Jenna. If she's got a new solo career. I think she'll make music for the rest of her life, but she's someone I always wanted to work with. I absolutely love her. But I'd have to go with Courtney from Spirit Box as well, because I loved and followed Courtney since she was in I Wrestled a Bear Once. And she's just insane. Like, what are her vocals? Like, are you kidding me? Like, to go from that weird, funky, gore, grindy, math, tech, crazy, frenetic, sick band into this incredible, ethereal, beautiful, still brutal vocal in Spirit Box. Like, she's amazing. So
great picks, and loved the throwback to Tonight Alive. Haven't heard Jenna's name in a long time, and she definitely deserves to be recognized.
Agreed.
I saw Jenna play live. I saw them play live, and Jenna's very big into spirituality, and she's so far advanced on that journey. And I remember being in the room, and she made everyone stop, and she managed to command the entire room to stop and take like a big sigh. And she called it something. It was some kind of, like, I think she called it a cosmic sigh or something. And I just felt myself compelled to do what she told me. I'm like, why am I doing what you're telling me right now? And
okay, fearless leader.
She just had this incredible energy where she commanded, took control, held everyone in the palm of her hand in the most calming way. It was mind-blowing. She's a very special human.
That's just lovely to hear. I remember interviewing her on, I'm sure this is no surprise to you, Tori, but Van's Warped Tour, and just falling in love with her. She's so nice.
Yeah.
What a great career you guys have had. Like, honestly, I'm never that Warped Tour is over and I never got to experience it.
That is a heartbreak for you. But who knows? Maybe one day it'll just pop back up. I'm not starting any rumors. I know nothing, but just gotta be clear. But we can dream.
Well, for the last jaw-dropping question, what would you say is the biggest misconception about you that you wish people understood a little bit better?
Ooh, probably another, like, I guess, semi-deep one. Probably a misconception would be, that's a tough one. It's like how I would appear in public, or if I take it down a personal, I think in my personal friendships, my personal relationships, a misconception would be that I don't think deeply or care about certain things, because I can, I don't say a lot sometimes, and I won't comment on things, but I think very, very, very deeply and care a lot about all my friends and all my family and everyone that I come across, but I might not communicate that. And I think, misconception would be maybe I'm in my own world and I don't care and I'm not that deeply connected, but I do think and care a lot.
Hopefully they're all watching, because I could tell that you are such a caring person and so thoughtful. If that's not clear from this episode, then I don't know, man, because you've been amazing today.
Yeah,
so thank you so much for your time, Alex.
Thank you.
I could tell from the moment that we were talking in the green room before actually pressing the record button that you were just such a genuine soul. And even the way that I don't even want to use the word portray, but the way that you present yourself online and communicate with people, and just like, you're very warm, and it's been lovely chatting with you. So thank you so much for taking the time, for just resonating with us, for being able to talk about the hippie crazy stuff that we love so much. It's been a delight, Alex. So thank you for coming on today.
So nice. I feel the same way as well. So thank you very much. It's nice to feel, to share that same energy and that same frequency, for sure.
Fully. And I have no doubt that it's these reasons why you were so warmly welcomed into the band and why the reception has been received the way it has. I mean, audiences, they know what's up and they know who somebody is from the moment they see them in a video or see them on stage. And I have no doubt that comes across. So I wish you nothing but the most incredible success and make them suffer. It's already happening and it will continue to. So I'm manifesting that.
Just the beginning. And that's not just a cheeky little saying. It's literally just the beginning.
It's just the beginning. Well, thank you again, Alex, and everybody watching. You know what to do. Make sure you like and subscribe for more interviews here on Knotfest with She's with the Band. Review and subscribe if you're listening on a podcasting platform. On behalf of my co-host Alicia Atout, it has been so great. Alex Reade, you rule, and we'll catch you guys next time here on She's with the Band. Bye, y'all.